Valentine's Day is approaching, and I'm aromantic, so I want to talk about the forgotten A in the LGBTQIA plus. And so, yeah, I actually took notes on it. I don't know where I want this topic to go as of right now. I just know that I want to talk about it. I took notes and I'm ready to get into it. Hi, I'm Varen. I use they them pronouns. I'm so excited for today's video, so let's just get into it. I will leave links to the articles that I used in the description box. Some of them it's just Oxford Dictionary, because whenever I do videos like this, I like to give you definitions so you know what the words mean that I'm talking about. I like to give you all the information before I talk about stuff. I want to give you the facts on what the definition is. And when I was the first page of my notes, I was reading from this article from Very Well Mind. And for the most part, I liked the article, but they kept saying something that kind of confused me. So I had to stop that and go look it up. And because I was looking it up, I was like, you know what, I might as well look up all of the definitions so that we can I can point by point. It's very nitpicky, but it's also something that I do want to make. I do think it needs to be a clear distinction on, because otherwise we're all confused. And so it's something that I want to discuss. So I want to go to the definitions first. Okay, so the thing that was getting me confused with this article was the use of what it means to be aromantic is feeling little to no romantic attraction towards others. Right? That's not the definition, but that's the one I like to use. And they kept using attraction and feelings simultaneously. Synonymously, they would swap interchangeably. They would use romantic feelings instead of attraction. And in the article, I was as I was reading on and I was writing notes for it, I kept seeing romantic feelings, and I'm looking it's attraction. And so I had to look up what is attraction, what is feelings, romantic, and then I had to look up what is romantic feelings. And I just went, and that's what we're going to be really discussing, the differences between attraction and feelings. It seems very minute, and this may be the least romantic Valentine's Day video to come out. I'm sure there's worse, but this is not romantic, and it's Valentine's Day, and you're going to have to excuse that. But I'm also aromantic, so I celebrate Aromantics Day, not Valentine's Day. And something that I want to say too is that something that I liked so much, that when they picked Arrow Awareness Week is in February, and I liked when it fell in the week of Valentine's Day. I just thought that was very poetic. And instead it's the week after, or the week after that, or something like that. And I was I think it's the week after. And I was no, it should be that week. Personally, if it was up to me, it would be the week of Valentine's Day. I don't care. People who aren't aromantic are going to be mad that we're celebrating anyway. We might as well go full force into it. We might as well do it. Just make it the week of. It's oh no, we'll just make it the week after. Unless the only reason I would accept the week after is for the clearance items on Valentine's Day. That's the only thing. You get the clearance items, and then it's oh yeah. Getting into the definitions. Attraction, which is a noun, it is the action or power of evoking interest, pleasure, or liking for someone or something. I put in a note. Feelings are not considered a synonym. And I took pictures. I'm going to put pictures up. I took pictures of all the synonyms for attraction, and feelings was not in there at all. I'm making a very specific point because maybe it's because I'm autistic. Maybe it's because the wording has to be just so for me to be like, oh yeah, Maybe because I have very literal thinking, and that could be it. That I was just like, note, feelings is not in the synonyms in the list. And so I was like, okay, let's look up feelings. An emotional state or reaction. And then I was like, romantic attraction. What's that mean? Attraction that makes people desire romantic contact or interaction with another person or persons. And it does not have feelings or an emotion in that. Romantic feelings. This one was so hard to look up. I didn't go through multiple pages of Google, because as you go further along, it becomes less what you're talking about. So I stayed on the first page, but I did look up. All of the ones that I looked up on that first page, all of them, I would typed in feelings and they gave me attraction. Only one actually said feelings. And it's romantic feelings, deep emotional interest and connection with another individual that is not purely physical or sexual. That feels like a good definition for it. It was on the, I think, Women of Color therapy website. I don't know, but it was on that one, I think. Attraction that makes people desire romantic contact, romantic feelings, deep emotional interest, or connection with another individual. They don't sound the same to me, but that's just me, And then I'm gonna go into the definition of what do you romantic, romantic attraction, romantic feelings, wanting romantic contact. What is romance? What is it? What is it? Now, there's obviously a ton of definitions. We have verb, to try to influence or curry favor with, especially by lavishing personal attention, gifts, or flattery. And then, what is romantic love? Because there's more than one type of love. And I do think this is the part where I'm going to put a disclaimer. I don't speak for all the aromantics. I am not the lyrics of the arrows, okay? I do not speak for all of them. I don't speak for all the arrows. And everyone has their individual experiences, and I can only talk about mine and the general information around aromantics. In the original article that I was reading, the study of aromantics is not easy, and it's not there's not a lot of studies on it. There's not a lot out there on aromantics. That's why I call it the forgotten A, because there's not a lot of research on it. Not a lot of people talk about it. A lot of people know about it. A lot of people don't think it exists. A lot of people think we're doing it for attention, or we can't get a date, or all these other things. And it's just because there's not a lot of research and stuff out there, or you don't know what it is, doesn't mean it doesn't exist, And so it's 1% of people identify as asexual. And then 25% of that 1% also identify as aromantics. This is not the study on purely just aromantics. That's what this is, so few that's what it's talking about. And I'm just trying to give it into perspective. So I have an example. Let's say there's 2,000 people. 20 will identify as asexual. And then 5 of those people will identify as aromantic and asexual, So that's so you can get the perspective. There's not a ton of aromantics out there. and who are also asexual. Aromantic, again, I don't know the numbers on that. I can look that up, but right now, I don't know that information. And a lot of people seem to think that they kind of lump aces and arrows together. Yeah, they're minorities. They're like minorities of minorities. And so there's not a lot of people, but there's still two separate things. Aces lacking sexual attraction, arrows lacking romantic attraction. And a lot of people don't seem to think they're real or exist, or like they're picking up for attention, or there's someone out there for everyone kind of thinking, and not really grasping it. They're like, well, like, or the split attraction model, people have issues with that because for them they experience the two things very closely together, or if not the same thing. And there was actually, I was talking about it somewhere in here. There is little research on romanticism and the distinction between romantic and sexual orientations are not fully understood. People have a hard time differentiating between romantic and sexual attraction because they are often so closely intertwined, making the studying the topic more difficult. So because for a lot of people, they're so intertwined that it's hard to study. It's hard to study the distinction between romantic attraction and sexual attraction unless you don't experience one. Then you're just like, oh. Or if you don't experience either, that is hard because it's zero for both. For both, it's zero. Or it's like little to no, so it's like 1 or 0.5. It's not like a clear thing. But it is like hard to differentiate when it is 0 or very low, because you're just like, I don't know. And for me, I like, while like it was 0 for both, I think the whole time, or like maybe like 1 and 0 the whole time for them, like romantic attraction, it never really dawned on me because I was reading a ton of romance books. Whenever I watch movies, I'm always like, even though it's an action movie, I'm like, the romance in it, I'm like, and romance is like one of my special interests, and I'm just like, romance books I'm just like, gobble, 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 gobble. And so for me, it was, and then realizing, oh, it is super low. It took an entire year to really just like grasp that that both of them were very low, if not at 0, maybe 0.5 and 0, or 0.5 and 1. It was very low, and it's not a clear yes, no type situation. Beginning back into the definitions, romantic love. And this is a different article. This one uses like someone's theory on love, and there's like 3 different components. I knew it started with a C. 3 components of love. So this is going into that. Romantic love, a combination of attraction, idealization that can result in or form a bonded relationship. There are 3 components of romantic love. There's intimacy, passion, and commitment. Intimacy, feelings of connection, closeness, and bond that people experience in a romantic relationship. Passion, feelings of physical and romantic attraction that people experience when they're in love. And commitment, deciding to stay with your partner. And then from this article, they're talking about there are 7 kinds of love, with the presence and absence and combination of the 3 components that make up the 7 different types. Friendship is like one, I numbered them. 1 is intimacy, 2 is passion, and 3 is commitment. Just so I don't feel like saying the words over and over again. So friendship is 1 without 2 or 3. Infatuation is 2 without 1 or 3. Empty is 3 without 1 or 2. Romantic is 1 and 2 without 3. Companionate is 1 and 3 without 2. Could be called platonic love. And there's fatuous, which is 3 and 2 without 1. And then consummate, which is 3 and 2 and 1, which is the ideal relationship. And I also wanted to add a fun fact in there. Historically, romance did not necessarily imply love in relationships, but rather was seen as an artistic expression of one's innermost desires, sometimes including love and sometimes not. So romance does not mean like love, it's like an expression of one's inner desires. I feel like that is a beautiful definition for romance, and I think like encapsulates like the feelings. So people who are like, how can any romantic person date? And it's like, or like be in a romantic relationship, and it's like romantic, you don't have, not romantically attracted to a person, but you can still desire romantic connection. You could have romantic feelings, because feelings are not attraction. They are not the same. I gave you the definitions and I looked up the synonyms, and they are not the same. Somewhere I looked up about like that and could not find like romance and not romance, attraction and feelings being the same. Like attraction is something and romance is something else. Discuss that. It was a little nitpicky of me to say that, talk about like pick out the romantic feelings and really like honing in on that, because when I was reading it, it was really just like, what is romantic feelings and why are they using that instead of attraction? And I feel as though like it can be confusing when you're reading an article on aromanticism, and like being aromantic, meaning feeling also romantic attraction, invoking interest, pleasure, or liking for someone. And it could be romantically, you would desire romantic contact with someone. It's very different from romantic feelings, which is a deep and emotional interest and connection with another individual. That's not physical, just physical or sexual. They are so different. An interest in someone romantically versus, wanting a deep emotional bond with someone. Because you can have romantic interest in someone and not necessarily have the romantic feelings where you want to have deep emotional like connection with them. Maybe like I need to look up all like the components that come with like romance for this, because I'm just like, what are components of romance? Like buying someone flowers. You can want to buy someone flowers or receive flowers from someone in a romantic sense and not have romantic feelings for that person. You can have the attraction to the person and not necessarily have those feelings, whether they haven't developed yet, or you just don't have they don't have the spark, or whatever it is. I'm talking from someone who doesn't experience this at all. So, like, I don't know what you guys feel, but this coming, like, you may not have both. They're like, just because you have one does not necessarily mean you have the other one too. Especially if you, like, first, like, meet someone and you have that you're romantically attracted to that person. You would like to date that person. That does not mean you have romantic feelings for them just yet, because you just met them, you found out like, oh, this person's kind of cool, kind of want to get to know them in a romantic setting, and you don't know them yet. I don't even know when people, like, if romantic attraction is so instant like, like the aesthetic attraction, like instant, like is it instant, or is it at that first conversation? Is it like the sensors are out there, like for anybody, and if someone's interested, like the spidey senses go tingling, and then it's like out there. Whether it's like you see someone across the room, it's like I want to date them. I don't know. I literally have no idea. Like, because the aesthetic attraction, I get, like, oh yeah, that person is really aesthetically attractive. That person's aesthetically attractive. Does that mean I necessarily want to date them? No. Because I'm just aesthetically attracted to them. I'm like, I don't know anything about you. I don't know if your personality sucks. I don't know. Like, I don't have it. I don't have it up here. With people being like, all of that. Definitely don't have that with the sexual attraction, but I didn't want to like focus on asexuality in today's video like at all, because like while asexual is forgotten too, aromantic is even more forgotten, and it's either getting lumps in with the aces or completely just not talked about at all. So I wanted to make a video specifically on aromantic, especially in February, especially for Valentine's Day. I wanted something to come out on Valentine's Day because it's a fake holiday, and I've spent 27 years not celebrating it with a person, and so I'm gonna make a video on it, and I'm not bitter about it. I just want to say, like, people will be like, oh, you're so bitter, you're so mad, you don't have it. It's like, I literally never said that. I just was like, I think it'd be the funniest thing ever for an Arrow to post a video on Valentine's Day that's not romantic at all, and it would be hilarious. So yeah, that's why I decided to do it. Not because I also thought that Arrow week was Valentine's Day week, and then I found out it wasn't. It was kind of disappointing, and I was like, I'm still doing it. It's still coming up. It's still going up, and it's really funny. Like, I have an entire romance wall. Like, I have my favorite, like some of my favorite couples on my wall. Like Valentine's Day in theory would be like a holiday that I'm just like, yes. It's also one of my favorite characters' birthday. Love you, Draculaura. And so there's gonna be a video going up on my doll channel that's the romantic themed, we'll call it that. But yeah, I wanted to sit and talk about like romantic feelings and romantic attraction, two separate things, and it's a little nitpicky, but also is it, because they're two different things. They're two different things, and I wanted to say that the article overall was a good one. I didn't hate the article. I just wanted to say that that particular part just kept bothering me, and enough to research all of it and make a video on it. Yeah. Romantic attraction and romantic feelings are separate, and romantic feelings barely has a definition. It barely has a definition. On one website actually says it, because all the other websites say romantic attraction as if they're the same thing, and they're not. I come to find out they're not the same thing. People just use them interchangeably. Maybe for people who experience, maybe the Aromantics experience romantic attraction and romantic feelings are the same, and I, because I don't, can just split it. This is new information. This is something to think about. Maybe people see it as one, and that's why you type it in on Google, they're sending you to romantic attraction. Maybe Google's confused too. Maybe Google's like, did you mean attraction? It's like, no, I meant feelings. Oh, well, we have attraction. Or like one of the article will say feelings, but then goes into romantic attraction. I wanted to just sit and talk about being a romantic on Valentine's Day. Well, this is before Valentine's Day, obviously. But I wanted to talk about it because people have been, the article have been used it interchangeably. And I'm like, I don't think they're the same thing. I don't think they're the same thing. Oh, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. Because this is the question I asked Google. I asked Google, is attraction a feeling? And I didn't get a chance to save the stuff for that answer. Okay, this is, I found it. I found it on the first try. Okay, So I said, is attraction a feeling or emotion? Okay. Attraction describes interest, desire, or affinity that's emotional, romantic, sexual, physical, or aesthetically in nature. So it can be emotional, but not necessarily, because it could be aesthetic in nature. So, because there's like different types of attraction. Because they have different types of attraction and stuff. And I kind of want to go use this as like this video as a jumping off point for further discussion on types of attraction and types of love. Okay, so I kind of don't know what the point of this video was anymore. So I'm gonna call it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.